Show front camera. Show bumper camera. Whoa.
You all know I'm obsessed with dash cams. I've been making videos on them for over 5 years now, and today, I think I have yet another great one to show you.
And this is my sister's Toyota 4Runner that I built up with Toyota and surprised her with when she came home from deployment last year. But since then, something has happened. Alex drove this thing 1,900 miles. I mean, some of those miles were me too, before she got up and got called to leave again.
A few weeks after we surprised Alex with her new car, as we were about to drive it from California to her house in Colorado Springs, we had a whole road trip plan and video actually. She had to leave for work earlier than we thought.
So her 4Runner has actually been back here in San Diego, actually just sitting in my parents' driveway. And I wanted to upgrade it with something inspired by my own truck.
Something Toyota killed it with in these newer vehicles are these rear view mirror cameras. It's your regular rear view mirror, but you can flip it down to see a wider view from the rear camera. Originally, I thought it was something I couldn't care less about, kind of a gimmick, but my Tacoma came with it, and now I honestly love it.
Something it can't do though is actually record footage, and it really only has that single rear view camera view. So after extensive research on the Toyota forums, I have found what I believe is the consensus on the best rear view mirror dash cam display, the Wolfbox G900 Tri-Pro. And with Alex's permission, I'm gonna install it in her 4Runner.
Well, we did quite a bit of accessorizing to this car with Toyota. It may no longer look like it, but this is an SR5, which is the base model 4Runner. So it just has the regular rearview mirror that we'll be converting today.
So the Wolfbox G900 Tri-Pro rearview mirror dash cam is of course a rearview mirror and also a dash cam. But when your vehicle is powered on, we want to actually turn the engine on. You can see it comes alive. And we get one of the camera views immediately. We're looking out the back of the 4Runner window. So check out this rear camera view, but also swipe right and you'll get a view of the front. You can see my two washing machines right in front of the vehicle, but keep going and you can see we get a view over the hood. I was actually playing my sim racing today and this reminds me of it. And of course, we can't forget about in all three sort of views, so you can see all angles at once. Very, very cool. If you hadn't caught on, the way I was actually accessing all these menus is I was touching the mirror directly. So this thing is touchscreen compatible. Definitely don't want to have greasy hands and touching this thing if you can avoid it.
And you can always turn it back into a regular rearview mirror with the press of a single button at the bottom. All of these cameras come in the G900 Tri-Pro kit, hence the name Tri, making it really similar to the OEM flip-down version with, of course, these extra camera angles. But uniquely, this mirror actually records footage too, something that the OEM one doesn't. I've currently got a 256GB micro SD card in it, and it saves footage from all three cameras. The rear camera records in 2.5K, front records in 4K, and bumper in 1080p. You know, looking back at this footage, I'm pretty happy with how easy it is to see license plates and just get a more full picture while you're driving. I mean, with everything crazy happening on the road these days, I'm personally a huge proponent of dash cams. This is my truck getting hit about a month after I bought it. It is great that I have at least the front view, but a rear would have been nice for this instance.
I'm sure my insurance would have taken just as long to work things out though. Point is, whether you go with this or some other setup, I am personally a big proponent of having a dash cam.
And I'm surprised by all the customization options on this unit. This is me playing around with the settings menu for the first time and finding some unique features.
Show front camera. Okay, that was a little scary. Show bumper camera. Whoa.
I also figured out that you could set your view to show the time and recording status on the display, or just leave it on one of the cameras to match the OEM version, which is what I did.
Now, to be fully transparent, the one reservation I had about installing this rear view mirror dash cam was that it was going to look too aftermarket and stand out.
I personally like when modifications blend into the rest of the vehicle, but this one does a pretty good job. It's very similarly sized to the OEM one, maybe a tad bigger, but it looks pretty clean from all angles.
My one knock of this whole setup is really minor. It's just that a couple wires do stick out from the top. Now, because they're black, they're really well blended in, but it would be super clean if these could be plugged into the back somehow so you couldn't see them at all, or if there was just one wire, they were all kind of bundled together and hidden.
I can't complain though, I'm impressed, and I hope Alex will like it and get use out of the front cameras when she gets back. Now, if you're curious about the install, we're gonna get right into it. This is the box the mirror, wiring harness, and all three cameras with mounts came in.
It's like an Apple style box opening where the seams are really tight. Nice packaging though. Let's see, we got a layout of our dash cam. Of course, we've got the mirror itself. We've got some cables and rubber straps, I'm guessing for mounting. Got a user manual. The 1080p extra bumper camera. Then the GPS 2.5K rear camera, and looks like a tool and some additional mounting hardware maybe? Zip ties, that's really nice. And then our 2.5K rear camera, which looks like it's on a bracket.
It also comes with a long cigarette lighter to USB-C cable, which is for power.
So you all know when it comes to dash cams, I am not a fan of running these long cigarette lighter cables. I didn't realize that power out on this entire unit was just going to be USB-C. So this is where, if you've seen any of my videos about the Dongar Pro, and especially the new Dongar Pro Plus, that would really come in handy.
The Dongar Pro allows you to leverage USB-C power nearby on these newer Toyotas with a plug-and-play harness. Plus, it gives you features like parking mode right out of the box.
But I also got this hardwire kit thinking that it was the only power cable I was gonna get. It's actually a separate kit. You can see one end has USB-C, but instead of using a dongle adapter, we are going to manually tap into fuses for now, just to get this thing powered up and looking nice and neat.
The hardwire kit will allow us to still leverage parking mode like the dongle adapter does, but it's not vehicle specific, so we're just gonna have to route more wires. I do already have a dongle adapter on the way though. I'll be replacing this with.
We ordered a 256GB micro SD card from Wolfbox because they do sell them, but of course there are a lot of other brands. What you really want to look for is high endurance here, because if you think about it, dash cams are constantly writing and overwriting new footage over and over, so high endurance is what you want to look for specifically.
With everything we need, it's time to start the install. First, let's get this mirror mounted. For the 4Runner, I ordered the bracket number 1 model from Wolfbox, which screws into a mount that uses existing holes on the back of the mirror. Once you peel back the adhesive, you'll find the 4 screws here. Put the plate on using the existing screws. And now it's time to install the mount using 4 provided new screws in the bracket kit. To remove the old mirror, it's actually a pretty simple process. Angle it down so that you can access the cover hiding the screw. It comes apart in 2 pieces. First, this little one, and then the larger surround. The technique I use is to push from the top of the windshield down and they'll pop off easily. It's a little scary at first, but I promise you shouldn't break any clips this way. And here's the screw we're going to remove, which is a torque spit. Once removed, tension is released so the mirror should slide right off. The Wolfbox camera mounts the same way using the number 1 mount, but it comes with its own tension screw, which is a Phillips head rather than a torque spit. Now we have our new mirror! But of course, we haven't gained any new features until we mount our cameras. I'm starting out with this rear one, which we need to mount, then route wires all around the side of the car through the headliner too. So I actually started in the back and just thought about where this could go. You know, we'll be sacrificing a little bit of camera quality looking through a window, but the wiring will significantly be easier if the camera is mounted inside, so that's what I opted for. In fact, this 4Runner headliner is made up of what feels more like cardboard than fabric. I've always thought that was kind of weird. I'm not sure if that's just because it's an SR5, but anyways, I ended up using the provided extended bracket, which you can just swap out with 2 screws, and the 3M adhesive sticks pretty well to the headliner. Of course, before embarking on the fun journey of routing wires, it's a good idea to make sure your hatch fully closes and you don't run into clearance issues. Once I was confident, I started routing the long wiring harness between the headliner and rubber seal along the edge. Now regarding this red wire you're seeing, you can tap into your reverse lights and splice it in, which gives you the feature of the rear view camera automatically popping up on the display when you get into reverse, but I didn't want to splice, so I'm omitting this. You know, the OEM mirror doesn't do this either, so I was personally fine leaving this out. This orange trim removal tool I'm using is actually provided in the Wolfbox kit, which is nice. I always like having one of these hanging around too because it just saves your fingers at times. Trust me, they can get sore after routing wires in these tight areas. Once I reached the front, I had a lot of excess, so I decided to hide it all on top of the dome lights. There seems to be a lot of dead space above these. This is also where zip ties become handy.
So there's one camera down.
I'll plug this camera into the Wolfbox once I get everything else routed, but for now, I'm just cleaning up the wiring. Now, onto the bumper auxiliary camera.
Now, there actually already is a dedicated camera spot, but since again, she has the base model SR5, it is a blank. And putting the provided Wolfbox camera right against it, there's no way I'm gonna be able to get it to fit. Honestly, for my 2019 Tacoma, I used 3M tape to stick the front camera on my grill because I also did not want to cut or drill, and that's lasted years, even in the sun. And she's holding up just fine, so I think we'll be okay on this front. Right underneath the front emblem logo, there's a nice flat area, and we've got a flat mount over here and 3M adhesive that I think we can just make work. And like our other camera, this bracket moves and we can tighten it if we want to adjust it. And you can see it, I can kind of rotate it a little bit and I'll tighten it with the set screws, depending on how far we need to adjust or not adjust. Now, this is the cable for our cameras. So one end, of course, is going to go into the Wolfbox G900, this end, and the other, of course, is going to go to the camera that we just mounted. Now, I'm gonna go through the firewall, which is why I'm kneeling down here on the driver's side. I think it might be easier to start from this side. We'll see.
So this is the firewall. To the left of the brake pedal, you'll find a large rubber grommet with existing wires bundled and taped together going through it. The way I've done this before is essentially making a small hole to route our camera harness through, which honestly is tough to do because there's a limited space in these areas for your hands to work, both inside the cab and in the engine bay. After struggling for a while, one thing I tried was using a copper rod and taping the harness to it so that it would be easier to pull through. It took many attempts, and after a lot of finessing and cutting a little bit of a bigger hole, I eventually got it.
Many tears, many tools, and one sliced finger later, I did end up getting that cord through the firewall.
Now that the hard part is over, it's just a matter of plugging the camera end in, then neatening up the wiring in the engine bay with zip ties. This is how mine looked once it was all hidden away. On the other end in the cab, you can tuck the wire between the seals and headliner, and thankfully, it's a shorter distance than routing the rear was.
So I did the 2 cameras minus plugging them in. Now let's hook up our power. If I had the donger, this would be so much easier.
I say this because the Donger Pro would have been a matter of plugging into an existing Toyota harness, but the hardwire kit forces us to use a few add-a-fuse taps, which it does come with, but we've got to route to our fuse box which is located under the passenger seat. So pull the trim pieces blocking the kick panel. The interior fuse box is located here, and the fuses are labeled on the cover itself. The red wire on the hardwire kit corresponds to an accessory fuse, so I tapped into what I think is a seat heater fuse, but anyways, it's this 15 amp one. The yellow wire on the hardwire kit corresponds to an always on fuse, so I tapped into the 10 amp dome fuse, which I believe is an only on one. To actually pull these fuses, I suggest locating your fuse puller, which is underneath the lid of the driver's side fuse box in the engine bay. Pull the fuses, then using the provided ATA circuits from Wolfbox, insert the removed fuse into the empty slot, then the ATA circuit into the existing fuse location. Now on the Wolfbox adapter, we can plug the red into the red wire and yellow into the yellow wire. You will have this black eyelet, which is meant to go to ground, so I just use this nut, which is grounded to the chassis already. That's all the wiring, so all that's left to do is route power towards the mirror the same way we did the cameras. Which leaves us with our 3 connections. We can simply plug into the top of the mirror into the appropriately labeled spot. We're gonna test this out to make sure everything is functional, so just turn the ignition on. So our dash cam's still wired up, the OE one that is. And looks like our Wolfbox turns on, good sign. The first screen that pops up is a configuration one, and the next one will remind you to plug an SD card in if you haven't already. Make sure to swipe through all those camera views to make sure everything else pops up, and we're done. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for staying on board with these 4Runner videos. I know I haven't posted the video yet of me surprising Alex just because of everything going on, but I really am excited to be continuing to make 4Runner content. Not that I want her to be gone longer, but I do enjoy having this vehicle in the garage. And also just shout out Wolfbox for making a really solid mirror. Appreciate you guys. If you want more content, especially content in real time and some fun behind the scenes, you can follow me on my Instagram. It is @ChloeKuoTaco. Other than that, I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.